Welcome back to Dubs Domain. I'm Eli, and I'm joined by my friend and Warrior superfan, Nate. How's it going, man?
What's up, Eli, man? It's just took a nice nap and feeling good. Yeah.
Is that your routine to take a nap before recording?
It is my routine. All right, let's talk about Chef Curry, man. He's going crazy. He's going crazy. The past 11 games, first player to score 30 points in 11 consecutive games, age 33 or older. He just beat Kobe Bryant's record. Just incredible. I mean, to be honest, after the 76ers game, he went for 49, and the Celtics game before that, 47. It's just, I feel so incredibly blessed to be alive today, actually watching this man play basketball, because it's so underrated. Just being able to watch, man, it's incredible.
I know, right? He's amazing. He has, back in the championship years, I was like, when people would ask who my favorite player was, I was arguably Iggy, arguably Draymond, but now, it's got to be Curry. That, it has to have been Curry. Especially this year, Curry is absolutely, he's insane. He's an unstoppable machine. You always hear he's a video game, basically. He literally is. How are you supposed to stop him? These 40-point games, these 30-point games, they haven't been on bad defenses or on open shots, right? They're not easy shots that he's making. They're all incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and don't just listen to us babbling about how amazing he is, but backed it up with stats, man. 5 40-point games in April, which is the most in the calendar season, also by a player age 33 or older. 70, this is just, I can't even say this, 72 3-pointers in the last 10 games.
That is absolutely insane. I don't think I've hit 72 3-pointers in my life.
Yeah, literally. This guy in the last 10 games is averaging 7.2 threes a game. And when he averaged 5.1 in his unanimous MVP season, that was and it still is, that's incredible. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
That paces to 400 threes in a season. And right now in the last 10 games, he hits 7.2. He cannot miss from three, it seems. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
I do want to say, as much as I absolutely love what Curry's been doing and the successes he's been having, it is always funny to see that little side note, age 33 or older, because
it's true, yeah.
Yes, what he's been doing is absolutely insane, but you can't forget about Harden that one year when he had 20 30-point games in a row or something like that.
It was 30s. It was in the 31, I think.
Which is ridiculous. But,
yeah.
The bigger thing for me is, the way Curry's doing that is so much more fun than the way Harden was doing it. Harden, everyone knows that not his main source, but a huge source of his scoring was getting to the free throw line. And that's not the same with Curry. Curry is insane step back, over two defender, fighting from the corner type 3-point shots.
Shooting from 35 foot.
Yeah. It's just so fun to watch. It's must see TV, and us as Warriors fans,
prime time,
we gotta be checking in every game, watching this, and really appreciating him and appreciating the greatness that Curry brings, because he's 33 or older, which means he is a vet, and he doesn't have all that much more time in the league. It'll probably be 5 to 6 years. Who knows how long Curry will want to play, but regardless, we don't have very much more time with prime Steph Curry. And so we gotta appreciate it.
What's crazy to me is when do you hear about a guy being in their prime at 33? The prime years are what I feel typically range from 28 to 31, 32. That's what a lot of people see as prime. That's what I see as prime. So to have this guy doing it in his age 33 season, I think personally this is the best basketball I've seen him play. Don't get me wrong, what he did in his unanimous MVP season was incredible, but the way he is playing right now is, I think it's the best he's played, and that's when he's 33. He's not slowing down. the fact that his prime has been extended to his 33 season shows his durability, even as a guy who gets injured a lot. Like people have been talking about his ankles are like, sticks, basically. They just break super easily. But, this year he's tweaked an ankle multiple times and has been able to push through it. He's just continued to play. Obviously had the tailbone injury, but that's a fluke. That's not like it's a common injury that a guy's going to get a lot. And that's like just on him being, a breakable guy. I mean, he really has been more durable this year than I think people realize. And the fact that his legs are, this good and he's playing, up to 36, 37 minutes in these games as of late, which you and I talked about how we love that he's playing more minutes now. I think it's amazing how late in his career he's doing this. What I think the best is. Yeah.
And I agree to an extent about that, like how primes tend to be in the 28 to 32 range. And I think that, we're seeing nowadays in today's NBA that older people or older players like LeBron, like Curry, like KD, like all these people who would be considered past that 32 years old, they're still maybe not necessarily in their prime, but they're still absolutely near their prime. And I think that's a product of like modern medicine and modern ways of training players and treating them, and just the way the technology we have access to get these guys the ability to sustain their incredible stamina, because NBA players are almost unanimously like seen as the best athletes in the world. There's not really a sport that requires better athleticism, pure athleticism, than the NBA does. So, to keep that athleticism up and be able to do what Curry's doing and to be able to do what LeBron's doing at his old age, to dunk a basketball at 10 feet, like, it's just, it's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I love the NBA so much. That's why I love Curry so much. It's just, it's still fun to watch. Like, all these guys could be in their 35 years old, ages, and it'd still be fun because they're still able to do that. That's why it's just amazing. Just another stat that Curry has 6 games this season with 10 plus 3-pointers, and that is tied for the most in the NBA season. You can probably guess who holds that other record. And that also is more than the rest of the NBA this season, which is wow. The rest of the NBA is less than Curry. That's just crazy. 21 career games with 10 plus 3-pointers, and that's the most in NBA history. No surprise there. And that's just climbing by far. Yeah. And that's climbing and climbing and climbing. I can see him, 14 games left in the season. I see him getting I can see 4 more. If he could get 10 in a season, in a shortened season, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that particular stat too is that the 21 career games with 10 plus 3-pointers, the other guys that are in that top 10, or I can't remember exactly, but I think it's the top 10, their amounts of games with 10 plus 3-pointers adds up to be less than Curry's. So Curry has more than all of theirs combined, and that's insane.
It's greatness, man. Like, and that's why when people are like saying how, oh, Steph's just a shooter, and Dame can shoot too now, and Trae Young's doing 40-foot shots, but
no one does it like Curry.
Yeah, no one does like Curry. It's just he's unparalleled right now, which is amazing.
And part of that is how he has been balling on everyone, but especially as the competition gets better, he's shown up more. In the last 11 games, he's averaging 40 points per game on 49% 3-point shooting. Obviously ridiculous, historically high numbers. Like, that's insane. But then against top teams or the top 10 teams in the respective conference, he's averaging 42.2 points per game on 52% 3-point shooting. And against top 6 teams, he's averaging 45.4 on 51.3% 3-point shooting. So you can see the climbing numbers as the teams get better. And it just shows his killer instinct, his clutch factor, and his ability to just torch defenses no matter how good or bad they might be.
Right. I think a prime example of this was man, I can't remember who, but it was a really recent game. He went for just 33, just 33 today. And he was 4 of 13 on threes. I mean, this is an off night for Curry. Like, he was not shooting the ball well. He was missing a lot of threes. I don't think he hit a three till either the second quarter or the third quarter. And he was still going and getting 33, like, with just 4 3-pointers, which again shows, he is shooting the lights out, historically high numbers right now. But the rest of his game is so complete as well. I mean, on offense, which is shown because he's still able to get 33 when he has an off night in shooting.
Yeah, that was against the Cavs, by the way, which is not, a great team or great defense by any means, but they're still NBA level defense. So, it's really, really incredible to see the versatility on offense. A lot of people just label Curry as the best shooter of all time, which he is, but he's not just the best shooter of all time. Yeah. He has all of it. He is the entire offensive package. He's an amazing playmaker, an amazing finisher, amazing spot up shooter from mid range, from anywhere on the court. He will make you pay if you don't guard him, and if you get close out too quickly, he'll run right past you and finish over your biggest and best rim protector. He's just incredible and one of the most versatile scorers of all time. I mean, you got to put him in the conversation for top 3, top 5 offensive players of all time. Another interesting, I suppose, tidbit about how just incredible Curry is, and how he really is, like, people compare him and Dame. People are talking about, is Dame starting to be better than Curry? I think the last 10, 11 games have completely put that out of everyone's minds. If they haven't, then it should. Yeah. People love to disrespect Curry. Anyways, people talk about how Dame's not that much worse of a shooter than Curry. But just think about this. Stephen Curry would need to miss his next 1,000 three-pointers in a row to have a three-point percentage on par with Damian Lillard and James Harden. That is how incredibly elite he is, and how much he is just heads and tails away from everyone. And you think of another guy who, for a while there, people were like, this guy might be one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter of all time, Ray Allen. Curry would need to miss his next 500 straight three-pointers to have a career three-point percentage on par with Ray Allen. Yeah, that's just like, it just...
And just to give that some perspective, Steph Curry takes around 12 threes a game, and he's been like that for most of his career.
Yeah.
If he were to miss 1,000 threes, taking 12 threes per game, that would take him 83 games. Let's round down to 82. That's an entire NBA season where he could not hit a three and miss all of his threes and still have better percentages. I mean, that, when you put that into perspective, for me, that says it all. Like,
absolutely mind-blowing. This guy is, I mean, he's barely human. He's just crazy.
Video game. Yeah, literally.
Yeah. And I guess he really, really displayed that against the 76ers. Man, this game was absolutely incredible. It was down to the wire. It got me nervous that it was going to be a Celtics game 2.0, where we get up pretty decent with like 2 to 3 minutes left, and then the Sixers or / Celtics would come back. But no, this game, Curry was just put the afterburners on, and we pulled away and came out with a win. And Curry in this game had 49 points, 14 for 28 from the field, and 10 for 17 on threes. He should have had 50 if he missed one free throw. He was 14 of 15 on free throws that game. If he had made that one free throw, he would have had 50. Man, it was so annoying watching him miss that free throw.
That's just a sad moment. I feel like, especially when you make 14 in a game and then not a 15. Know, right? Like, that's already such a high volume. And we saw Curry greatness. Like, we don't win that game without Curry, obviously, but an important thing to note, when Kevon Looney was guarding Joel Embiid, who's obviously their best player, another MVP candidate, he only went 4 of 14 from the field. He had 2 turnovers, and was out rebounded by Looney 15 to 13. And, there's a lot of double team to help Looney, but that just makes me really happy to see that, our little center, he's a small center, like, compared to these other huge guys. And I think that's just really encouraging to see from Looney, because I've been pretty critical of Looney's offensive game. He just feels like a slug to me. He's really slow, doesn't really get his shots up very well. But to see him playing this defense on arguably the best center in the NBA is really encouraging. And I do hope that he can continue that stretch forward, because, with Wiseman coming back next year, a lot of people have talked about getting, like Warriors fans have talked about getting rid of Looney, like trading him, just not really seeing a fit for him. But I do see a fit for him as a defensive center coming in for Wiseman, in the future, if he can continue to play like solid defense on their centers.
Yeah, absolutely. Looney was a guy who has been there for all of our championships except for the first one. He's mentored by Draymond, mentored by Bogut. He has been mentored by two insanely great defensive, two very good defensive bigs. And he knows the system. Like he knows the system so well because he's been here for so long.
Right.
And so you're exactly right. And Looney, while he might not be the greatest like height wise, his wingspan is incredible.
It's true.
And so he really has that ability to mess with people's shots. And we saw that with Embiid last night. And yeah, you touched on it. There was a couple times, probably about half of the times, someone like Wiggins or Lee or someone would come over and help. But when Looney was on him, just one-on-one on an island, he proved very effective, and it was awesome to see. I really hope he can do that more, because if we have that defensive anchor, well, Draymond's a defensive anchor, but if we have another solid big who can guard the larger centers in the league of the Western Conference, aka Jokic, aka Anthony Davis. He's a little slow for Anthony Davis, but if we have someone like that, that really could put us over the edge to be that like
a strong defensive
underdog
team. Yeah. Underdog defensive team. I like that word. Yeah. And dare I say, like, even watching Looney, when he does get switched on guards, I feel much more comfortable having Looney like a one-on-one with a guard than James Wiseman or so many other Nikola Jokic. Like, honestly, I feel so much more comfortable with Looney out there. Not that he's no big is going to be effective in guarding a guard if they're an elite guard, out one-on-one. But I do think Looney has shown that he can at least occasionally stay in front of a guard, which is really good too. So I'm happy with his defense. He's definitely showing improvement. I think over the year, I think he's improved. So even if he doesn't have that offense, hopefully that's what we're saying. Hopefully Wiseman can be our offense of the future, the center position, and Looney can be that defensive anchor at the center position. And that'd be really effective and good for us. So I'm happy with Looney for sure.
For sure. And another role player that played great in that Sixers game was Damien Lee. He started off the season super good. Remember, he hit those game winners for us, two of them, I'm pretty sure, and just was great in clutch. And then he kind of, he hasn't been bad per se, but he hasn't really had that same, like, just a super effective role player type status recently. But last game, he played amazing for his role. He had a really solid 12 points and 6 rebounds off the bench. He played great team defense. I was mentioning he was often one of the guys who was coming over to double Embiid. And he also was knocking his shots down super efficiently, which we know him. That's his main shtick, right?
And it's just been, for me, what's been so frustrating about our bench, and particularly Damien Lee, Kent Bazemore, like at times our bench looks so good. Like to reference the OKC game last week. We were hitting every shot. Like, not to overstate it, the OKC defense was horrible, and we were getting way more open shots than we would against the other team. But the fact that Damien Lee, Kent Bazemore, JTA, who we can talk about JTA, just my favorite role player right now. He's all these guys, like when they're hitting their shots, like we are such a good bench, but they're just so inconsistent. And I do feel like Damien Lee has been really inconsistent. Like you said, at the beginning of the year, he was playing super well, kind of stopped for a little while. And then one game he comes out 4 or 5 in the field. And the next game he's 1 for 6. It's just, it's frustrating when these guys are so inconsistent, but when they are knocking down shots efficiently, like we have a really good bench, and when they're not, we have a really, really bad bench. So it's just so up and down, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that's a product of the type of talent we have on our bench, where there are a lot of young guys with decently high motors, very athletic, but not a lot of high IQ guys. I'd say our number one IQ off the bench is JTA, who, by the way, prayers up for him after suffering that.
I saw
looked like it was going to be really, really
35
bad.
stitches. 35
Yikes.
Stitches. That's
crazy.
I can't even imagine. That's a lot.
But luckily, seems like he's okay. Had a concussion, but he'll be coming back sometime soon. But anyways, the inconsistency of our bench is definitely something that, if they can play well consistently, like you were saying, we have the potential to be a scary team in the upcoming playoffs.
Yeah.
Just, I guess, talking about the playoffs coming up somewhat soon, I suppose. We've got about 14 games left of the season. The Warriors do. Most teams have like 15 or 16. But we
only had one game that was canceled, which was, I mean, I'm really thankful for that, by the way. Just the one game against the Suns. A lot of other teams had like a ton of games canceled. So anyway.
Yeah. We've definitely been able to survive most of the COVID things. We just had Draymond and Wiseman at the beginning of the season. But most of the season we've been able to escape COVID. But anyways, where we sit right now, we sit in the 9th seed of the Western Conference. And we are like a game back.
We're a game back of the Grizzlies for the 8th seed and 2 back of the Mavericks for the 7th seed.
Yeah.
So, and then 3.5 of the Blazers for the 6th.
Yeah. So where we are right now, if I had to guess, if I had to bet on it, I would say we'd stay in the 9th seed, right? Do you agree?
I mean, the way Curry's playing, I could totally see us going 8 or 7, but I think, like you said, most likely is probably the 9th seed.
Yeah. I just think that the Grizzlies have been rolling. The Mavericks have Luka, and Luka can flip it on, and then,
Right.
But
for the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. is coming back like really soon as well, which will be a huge help for them too. So it's kind of worrisome, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But the first 4 teams above us, the Lakers, Trailblazers, Mavericks, Grizzlies, they all lost their last game or two. So, that's kind of encouraging to see. But like I said, I think we'll probably finish in that 9th seed. However, there is a world in which the Warriors do end up the 6th seed. It would require a lot of things to go right for us. But, while it's not necessarily likely, it is possible.
It is. And that would get us out of the play-in tournament. I think, if we didn't have to play in the play-in tournament, oh my goodness, I'd be so happy. Obviously, I think if we do play in the play-in tournament, which is the most likely scenario, we do, in my opinion, have a good shot of coming out of it, just if Steph continues where he's at right now. Right. But obviously, the 6th seed would just get us all out of it completely, and that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's a lot of factors playing into it.
Sorry. Just wanted to say really quick. I'm looking at the top of the Western Conference right now, and we have the Jazz at the first. The Suns or Clippers will end up being 2 or 3, and then Nuggets will be 4. But I was actually wondering, like, would you rather be the 6th seed and then have to take on the Suns or Clippers, or this 8th seed and take on the Jazz? Because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not even going to lie. I feel like I would rather take on the Jazz than the Clippers, at least the Clippers. The Clippers have been absolutely amazing. The best team in basketball recently since the All-Star game. So I don't want a chance of taking on the Clippers.
That's a really good point. I'm not even going to lie. And the issue with that is, if we were to take the Jazz on and in some magical world we beat the Jazz, that leaves us with most likely the Lakers in the second round. So you give and take, like what.
Yeah.
I think obviously the likelihood of us getting out of the first round is unlikely either way. There's a chance,
Right.
but I do think it's a little unlikely. No matter who we play, the Suns, Clippers, or Jazz. To me, like you said, I think I'd personally rather play the Jazz over the Suns or the Clippers, just because, even with the Jazz playing, they've been playing really well all season. It's just because we beat them this year. I know we beat the Clippers too, but the Clippers are rolling. The Clippers have not been healthy.
We haven't played this Clippers.
Right. We have not. And the Suns, whenever I watch a Suns game, I think they're the best team in basketball. And I don't think they are right now. It's just when I watch them, I get that vibe. Like they play so incredibly well under CP3, just leading them with their young talent. They're just so scary to watch. So wouldn't mind seeing the Jazz in the first round. It's a good point. I didn't think about that. But then you guys see the Lakers when they're presumably fully healthy. So,
you do that is a very, very good point that if we get out of the first round against the Jazz somehow, then we have to take on the winner of the Nuggets Lakers, which if it's the Nuggets by some miracle, then that would be great. But if it's the Lakers, then that's not going to be a good thing. But the thing with the Jazz, playing the Jazz versus playing the Clippers and Suns, like we've been talking about, the Clippers been the best team in basketball since the All-Star break. The Suns constantly getting better every single game under Chris Paul's tutelage. Devin Booker and the Suns as a whole have just been getting better. They have a bunch of young talent. I really, really like Mikal Bridges. DeAndre Ayton gets a bad rep just because he was drafted before Luka, but I think he's still going to be great.
Jay Crowder's having a career year too. Don't think about him. He's playing so well.
Jay Crowder, I love him as a vet. He's an excellent vet. And then the thing with the Jazz is all you need to go wrong, or all we need to happen for them to lose, is then to stop hitting their threes. They're one, if not the best 3-point shooting team in NBA history this season. They're just numbers wise, like statistically speaking, their efficiency is absolutely ridiculous. They can't miss threes. They just hit every shot they take. And that's not going to last forever, which is part of why I have my doubts about them being a championship team. And they don't really have a true star.
You can't really rely on that, it's not a reliable way of winning. I
mean, the Rockets series against us. The Rockets series, they lost because they missed 24 threes in a row or whatever it is. And the other thing with the Jazz is their best player, arguably their best player, I would say their most impactful player is Rudy Gobert. He is significantly easier to play out of a series than Chris Paul or Kawhi Leonard / Paul George. Like those three, they're going to be in the series and they're going to be the best player in the series. Gobert, it's very easy to take him out to the perimeter and then get him out of the game because he can't stay in and stay with our perimeter threats. And so I almost think the Jazz would be
you make a really good point. When we were playing the Sixers just this past game, in the fourth quarter, this is what we would have: Curry dribble the ball up, Steph set a screen, high screen with Embiid. Embiid would not come out to him. Steph pulls the first three, and it worked almost every single time. And Rudy Gobert would be the exact same way Embiid plays. And they're both slow, relatively slow centers. They don't like to go out to 3-point line to guard shooters. That's a really good point. That I think playing against that big center, they're not going to want to go out. Anthony Davis, or that's the Lakers, but he wants to go out more. A guy like DeAndre Ayton even likes to go out a little bit more, although he's pretty slow too. But it's a good point that playing against the Jazz would definitely be an advantage if there is one.
So I definitely get the allure of not having to play in the play-in tournament, but I almost wonder if we do end up playing in that play-in tournament and we get the Jazz, I almost wonder if that would be better. But let's talk about what it would take for us to get to the 6th seed. First of all, the best seed in the West right now of the teams we're going to talk about is the Blazers. And because they're the best team, they would need to have a losing record of 6-9. The teams they would need to lose to are the Lakers twice, the Nets twice, the Nuggets and Jazz. And then also they'd have to lose 2 more among the Spurs, Suns, Hawks, and Grizzlies. So,
I mean, I don't see that as incredibly unlikely, to be honest.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum came back from injury, and obviously he's still really good, but has not been playing, the same. Dame's been in and out of the games with some injuries. He's also been slowing down just in general.
Yeah.
Yusuf Nurkic came back from injury, and he's been playing behind Enes Kanter. So
Yeah.
I can see that as definitely a possibility for the Blazers. But obviously, with more, we need the Mavs, the next team, the 7th seed. They need to go 8-8. They could also go 9-7 though. They have to lose to the Lakers twice. They have to lose to us. They have to lose to the Heat, the Nets, and the Grizzlies, and they need to lose at least two, to the Pistons, Wizards, and Pelicans. And Pistons, Wizards, and Pelicans. That's kind of iffy.
Yeah. When you first named the first group of teams that they have to lose to, that's not that crazy to think that might happen. The Lakers losing to the Lakers twice without LeBron and Anthony Davis, that's a bit iffy. But then you get to the losing at least to the Pistons, Wizards, and Pelicans. No, I don't really see it happening. Yeah. The Pistons, they'll definitely, I don't think there's any way they lose to them. The Wizards, you can make the case that because the Wizards have been hot, I mean, Bradley Beal can always pop off and go for 40, and then you can't really do anything. And Westbrook has been absolutely amazing on a tear. And so the Wizards aren't that far out of the realm of possibility, but I would say the Mavericks have a better chance. And then the Pelicans, they have been a good team recently. They've been in a lot of games. They just can't close out. So maybe the Pelicans will put it together and be able to close out that game. It's a possibility, but
that one's definitely less likely than the Blazers for sure.
For sure, yeah. The Grizzlies, who are right above us, would need to finish off 9-7. They would need to lose to us, the Pelicans, the Knicks, the Nuggets, and the Trailblazers. However, they have multiple games against the Trailblazers, and it's crucial that they only lose one game to the Trailblazers. If they lose more, then it messes it up to where the Trailblazers would actually be better than us, and so we wouldn't get the 6th seed. They also need 2 more losses from among the Clippers, the Raptors, and the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also less likely than the Blazers, but I think just the way Grizz has been playing, like I mentioned, Jaren Jackson Jr. is back. He could be playing today. I saw he went from out last week to doubtful on Monday to questionable today. So he's definitely progressing really fast, actually. And if they get him back, he's going to be a minutes restriction, probably play 15 minutes a game. But I've been high on him. He's grown. Well, he says he's grown 2 inches since his injury, which is just incredible.
Yeah.
So I think he'll make a really big impact for the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies have a strong chance of actually moving upward. I think I could see them moving upward to the 6th seed more than I can see us moving the 6th seed. But
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
I think the biggest problem would be them having to lose to the to the Clippers, Raptors, and Kings. I don't see them losing to the Raptors or Kings.
Yeah,
I mean, the Raptors could. That could be the night where they actually end up playing one of their players. They end up playing Pascal and all that, but they've been resting a lot and just not, they just haven't been that good this season. So there's always a chance that they come out and look like the Raptors of 2020, but I don't know that that'll happen.
Yeah. And the last one is obviously what the Warriors have to do. We have to go 10-4, 14 games left. And we need 9 wins out of these teams. The Thunder twice, the Pelicans twice, the Mavericks. And this is the most important game against the Mavericks because they are also contending for the 6th seed. The Rockets, the T-Wolves, the Kings, and the Grizzlies, which is also a really important game. And then we need just 1 win over either the Wizards, Jazz, and Suns, which would leave 2 losses to the Nuggets and Pelicans, 2 either from the Wizards, Suns, or Jazz. To me, the way Steph's playing, it's possible. 10-4 is definitely a steep hill to climb. Yes. However, if you think about it, when Steph is playing this season, we are more than 6 games above 500. So 10-4 is definitely possible with Steph if he plays the rest of the season. Beating teams like the Thunder, the Pelicans, the Rockets, the T-Wolves, the Kings, those are games that we should win. we should win those games. It's just a matter of if we do, which we've seen this season. We kind of aren't able to close games very well to teams we should beat. Then you have, the Mavs and the Grizzlies, which are going to be two really tough games. So
yeah,
like we said, it's really unlikely. It's, I don't know what the percentages are, but I'm sure if like Caesar did a bet on it, like it'd be pretty low odds. So
yeah,
one can hope. Although, are we hoping? That's to remain to be seen. We don't really know what to hope for, to be honest. As long as we stay in the 10th seed, obviously the Pelicans, which have been, they've dropped the last couple games, which has left them actually 4 games behind us for the 10th seed, or 4 games behind the Spurs and us. So we should keep the 10th seed, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to drop below the 10th seed. The Spurs have an incredibly difficult schedule for the rest of the year. They're definitely not going to have a very good record. So, yeah, I think we're at the lowest, the 9 seed, at the highest, honestly, the 9 seed,
7.
but potentially
the
6 seed.
I think the highest is 7. That's what I would say personally, because when you just look at it, we're only actually 2 games behind the Mavs. The Mavs have been skidding to an extent. 5-5 in the last 10. They lost 2 in a row. That's why I think the highest is the 7th seed, but likely 9 seed. So
yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you so much if you have gotten to this point. We cannot emphasize enough how grateful we are that you listened. It means a lot. If you enjoyed the episode, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. It would help us out a bunch. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe, like the video, and share it with friends. Well, guess we'll catch you next time in Dub's Domain.